Safety is a very expensive illusion. This is one of my favorite lines from one of my favorite books, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. It's a book that changed my life, and in this video, I'll show you how to use her wise words to stop holding yourself back so you can finally move forward to bring your creative dreams to life. I'm Jill Allison Bryan, Master Creativity Coach and the founder of Creative Oasis Coaching. And since 2008, I've helped thousands of multi-passionate humans all around the world to move out of their own way and move their creative dreams from their heads and into the world. And over that time, I've studied a lot of creative experts. So welcome to my first video in this series, in my humble opinion, deep thoughts and hot takes on creative experts. Now, there is an abundance of life-changing wisdom packed into the pages of this seminal book by Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way. But today we're going to focus solely on one line that contains 3 powerful lessons to uncover as to why you're holding yourself back and playing it small in your creative dreams, what that's costing you, and how to stop. I'm also going to share how I personally struggled to work through this book for years, and what I finally did, how I learned the secret of making it work to work all the way through it, and how that changed the entire trajectory of my life and career. So grab your journal and a pen and let's dive in. Safety is a very expensive illusion. Now, we'll start with the safety. Why do we seek safety? Why is it so important to us? Why do we want it so desperately? Well, first off, we're human beings, and it's in our nature to seek safety. We're hardwired to survive, and seeking safety helps us to do that. That's how we've made it this far. Way back when, prioritizing safety helped us steer clear of predators in the wild and seek shelter from storms and find the support of people that we trusted and could count on, and ultimately helped us to stay alive and healthy and happy as long as possible. So our desire to stay safe still helps us in so many ways, right? We look both ways before we cross the street. We check the expiration date before we eat something. We wear our seatbelts in cars and on airplanes. But when it comes to our creative endeavors, the impulse to play it safe only serves to hold us back, because it keeps us from taking necessary risks, from trying new things, stepping out on faith, and trusting our intuition to go after our big creative dreams. What we end up doing instead is returning again and again to what's most familiar to us, even if it's not what we truly desire. And all of this contributes to our playing small and staying stuck. So in these situations, it may not be a life or death situation, but the reason we seek safety is still very real to us, right? It feels so real. We don't want to embarrass ourselves. We're afraid we're going to fail. We long for security of a sure thing. We worry that others won't understand or support our creations. The list goes on and on. For example, you may have a strong desire to open a boutique, and you may have dreamed of this for years, but your fears are holding you back. Your desire to play it safe is holding you back. You fear that your family or your friends are going to think it's a flaky idea, or that your town can't support another boutique, or you have a fear of letting go of your current stable job, even if it's a job that you don't necessarily love. You fear that once you open this boutique, nobody will come. So you stick with the safety of doing what you've always done. You stay with the real job your family approves of. You continue to count on a paycheck week after week from a place that you don't want to be. And you'll never have to face the rejection of having no customers come to the store if you never open the doors in the first place. This is the keeping ourselves safe. And it brings to mind the phrase, when you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. But at least we know now, right? When looking at our reasons head on, when looking at why we're playing it safe, at least you can have some compassion for yourself and start to understand a big part of the why behind playing it safe. And I invite you right now to grab your pen and your journal and write down 3 to 5 reasons that you are currently playing it safe when it comes to your own creative dreams. And I'd love it if you'd share in the comments below, because I'd love to have a conversation about this, and also for you to see that you are definitely not alone. Once you're able to see your reasons written down, it's going to be so much easier to work with them and to decide whether or not you're ready to let go of them forever so they can stop holding you back, or if you love your reasons and you want to stay right where you are. But before we move on to why the safety you're seeking is actually an illusion, if this video is resonating with you, please hit like and subscribe. It helps YouTube to know that these are the kind of videos you want to see, and these are the kind of videos that I need to be making for you to help you. Okay, now let's move on to number 2. Safety is a very expensive illusion. When we continue to hold on to safety and play it small in our creative endeavors, we're blatantly ignoring this fact that no matter what we do in life, there are no guarantees. And it's in this way that the safety that we're seeking when it comes to our creative dreams is in fact an illusion. We tell ourselves that we're guaranteeing our safety because it makes us feel better, like we're covering our bases. And again, we just learned we're hardwired to seek safety, a security, and a survival mechanism. But it's a little like telling yourself that if you go outside wearing a raincoat and a rain hat and have boots and an umbrella, that no storm's going to come. It doesn't work that way. And so it's the same thing with our creative dreams. And I often say, if the pandemic taught us anything, it's that you never know what's coming. I mean, one day people were opening up a coffee shop breakfast spot that they had been dreaming of opening for years, only to learn the next week that their community was in lockdown and restaurants were shuttered indefinitely. They didn't know, they couldn't see what was coming. And yet that kind of issue and challenge made a lot of people think outside the box and get very creative about how to keep their creative endeavors going in with those parameters. For you, it might be something like you worked for an advertising agency for years and you feel like you've actually given the best years of your career, and suddenly that agency decides to make cuts and has massive layoffs, and your safe, secure paycheck and benefits are gone in an instant. When we attempt to keep ourselves, again, safe, I'm using air quotes, by downplaying or not going for our creative dreams, we're kidding ourselves, because tomorrow isn't promised. And for that reason, there truly is no time like the present to start prioritizing your own creative dreams. And certainly basing your life decisions on what you think other people may or may not want from you or expect from you, rather than listening to your own desires, is never going to bring true happiness, fulfillment, or security. I promise that I don't say any of this to discourage you, not at all. In fact, I'm saying this to help you realize that there truly is no time like the present to go for your creative dreams, especially if you're waiting for a perfect time or someone else's approval. There's really no such thing as a perfect time when it comes to our creative dreams, other than when we have decided we are going to prioritize them and we are going to spend the time and energy and resources it takes to make them happen. So again, now we know why we're seeking safety. We're human beings. And we know why it's an illusion, because life is uncertain and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day. And so the choices that we're making in order to play it safe are not really serving our creative dreams or our true authentic self that we long to be. So finally, the third part of this incredibly wise one sentence, safety is a very expensive illusion. She actually calls out this one sentence in her card deck from The Artist's Way because it's so massively helpful, right? Is safety is a very expensive illusion. This time we're going to focus on the expense. So stop for a moment to think about how very precious your time here on earth is. The truth is, we never know how much time we have left. So every minute, hour, and day spent doing anything other than what we're truly called to do is a minute, hour, or day that we're never going to get back. And I know that may sound dramatic, but that's just the truth, and it's facts. And we've all heard stories of people who worked diligently their entire life and kept waiting and putting off what they really wanted to do until they retired, to finally start enjoying their life, to finally start following their dreams, only to be either struck down by their own illness or the illness of a loved one and needing to become a caregiver, or losing the actual ability to do the things they had most dreamed of. So if you're promising yourself that you'll spend time with your creative calling someday, that elusive day that has no specific date and it keeps getting pushed further and further back into the future, this is likely to continue happening, right? You're the only person who can make that stop happening. So if you're telling yourself that someday you're going to write that book, or learn to play an instrument, or make art, or plant a garden, or host your dream event, design jewelry, try improv, audition for acting roles, go back to the myriad of half-finished or even unopened creative projects that are waiting for you. But when someday never comes, that's the sadness, right? That's when you're left with the emptiness and regret of never having tried at all. And if you never even try, you'll pay the expensive price of carrying that awful, gnawing feeling of not knowing. not knowing whether or not you could have made it happen, not knowing the joy you could have experienced or the satisfaction and success you may have created for yourself. I want to invite you now to take a moment to write down 3 to 5 ways that playing it safe is costing you. What's the expense? You're playing it safe at the expense of something. And just take a look at it. What is that for you? So here's the good news. It doesn't have to be that way. And I really believe that that's the wisdom that Julia Cameron is imparting to us throughout The Artist's Way, and especially in this one single line, safety is a very expensive illusion. She's reminding us that now is the time, the present moment is all we really have, and that the price is far too great to leave our dreams on the shelf, in the drawer, unexplored. So in my case, one of the main reasons I stayed in a toxic marriage for far too long was that safety that I was seeking. And that turned out to be a very expensive illusion in many ways. And the price I paid was years of giving my life for someone else's creative dreams rather than my own, and not living the fully expressed creative dreams that I had in my heart. And once I made the leap out of my comfort zone, I was able to show myself what I was really capable of. And believe me, it was not without fear. But sometimes life happens and we're pushed out of our comfort zone, and we have to face and confront our fears head on. That was my case, and one for which today I'm actually extremely grateful, because on the other side of that fear, on the other side of, I don't know how the hell I'm going to make this work, was actually the place where I had to dig down deep within myself and find trust and go all in on my creative dreams of building my creative coaching business. And these past 8 years that I have done just that have been some of the best, most rewarding, exciting, and interesting years of my life. By the way, be sure to request your free Creative Oasis Jumpstart Bundle using the link below. And one of the 5 resources that you get in that bundle is a podcast episode where I go into detail about how I achieved this. My heartfelt hope for you is that you don't have to get pushed out of the nest, that you don't have to get laid off or displaced from your home or forced into or out of a situation that you don't want to be in, or that you have to experience an illness or any other traumatic life event in order to realize that your time is now. That you'll allow the wisdom of Julia Cameron to be the spark that lights the fire under you to seize the day and prioritize your creative dreams that have been calling to you for so long. Maybe just watching this video is the thing. Maybe this is the light bulb moment for you where you say, I'm done waiting. I'm not going to keep putting my dreams on hold. I see now that the safety that I'm trying to provide for myself is a bit of an illusion, and I'm ready to go for it. So I promised you at the start of this video that I'd share how I went from owning my unread copy of The Artist's Way for years to actually working all the way through it, and how it ultimately changed my life in so many positive ways and in more ways than I ever could have imagined. And let me start by saying that if you too own a copy of The Artist's Way, it may be the same for you, and you are not alone if it's still waiting patiently on your nightstand or your bookshelf to be opened up and worked through. Or perhaps, like many people I've met throughout the years, you own it, you've worked as far as the morning pages chapter, and that's as far as you've made it. That was me. I learned about The Artist's Way way back when, immediately purchased a copy, had it out where I saw it all the time, but every time I tried to work all the way through the exercises on my own, I would give up. And in truth, it is not a light read. Cameron really asks you to dig down deep and uncover truths about why you're not living the creative life you crave, and do the work to get to the other side of that. So for me, it wasn't until I joined a group that I worked all the way through every chapter in the book. And I, like many people, I needed that accountability, that camaraderie, the wisdom and expertise of the teachers that were leading that group to successfully make it all the way to the end of that book. And then at the end of that book, to really be filled with hope and desire and a multitude of ideas that I knew were calling to me. For me, it really unlocked, I would say, my myriad of creative possibilities and my multi-passionate creative potential. And that was that was a changing point, because I had unlocked all of these ideas and unleashed what I now call the idea tornado, all of these possibilities whirling around my mind, and I didn't know what to do with those. I didn't know how to actually make any of them happen. And that led me to seek out and work with my very first coach, a creativity coach named Jill Badonsky, who helped me to go on to clarify my creative dreams and start to make them happen. And ultimately that led to me becoming a creativity coach, and I've never looked back. And now it's your turn. Which creative dreams do you have that are just withering on the vine while you continue to seek safety? Safety that's really nothing more, we know now, than an expensive illusion. So I invite you again to take your journal, take your pen, write down 3 to 5 of the creative dreams that are still calling to you and yet are not happening. They're just on the shelf and waiting for your permission to begin. So, are you ready to go for it and learn how to finally live the creative life you crave? A great start will be to grab your free copy of my Creative Oasis Jumpstart Bundle down below. And if you know in your heart that you're not willing to wait any longer, that you are ready to go all in and prioritize the time and energy and resources that you need to start bringing your creative dreams to life now, I invite you to go one step further and schedule a complimentary one-on-one Creative Oasis Clarity Call with me. You and I will get on a Zoom call, we will discuss your dreams and desires in detail, and I can share options of how I can best support you as your creativity coach if we're a good fit. So I'm going to leave you with my philosophy, which is this. When you say yes to your creative callings, you become a happier, healthier, more fulfilled human, and the world becomes a better, brighter place. Okay, see you on the next video. Bye.